We all prefer things a certain way, like groceries. If you want groceries just how you like them, you gotta try Instacart. They have a new preference picker that lets you pick how ripe or unripe you want your bananas. Shoppers can see your preferences up front, helping guide their choices. Because when it comes to groceries, the details matter. Instacart. Get groceries just how you like.
Oh, no. This is a logbook entry from the 19th of January, 1992. Caller got cut off during call. He has been thrown out of his accommodation because he is HIV positive and was asking about legal rights. I went to get legal file, and when I came back, he was gone. Hopefully, we'll ring back.
You're listening to The Logbooks, untold stories from Britain's LGBTQ+ history, in partnership with Faber Books.
I'm Tash Walker.
And I'm Adam Zmith.
Since we finished making the Logbooks podcast in 2022, we've been writing a book published by Faber. It's called The Logbooks, and Adam's turned 40.
You too.
I don't look at those.
The book goes deeper into Switchboard's archive and other archives, and includes more stories from the 70s, 80s, 90s and noughties. 4 decades.
Listening to queer people's essential stories is always central to our work.
So in this season of the podcast, we want to share some of the interviews we conducted as research for our book.
Now you too can listen to all the amazing, powerfully queer storytellers we've listened to, in their own words, with their own voices.
Right, I believe this is another one of your interviews, Tash.
It is, Adam.
Who is it this week?
It's Andy Piccos, who I mentioned last week. Femi put me in touch with him. It was so lovely to go and visit Andy in his flat, which is actually near the Arsenal Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
As I walked in up the stairs, he'd left the door open for me. He was sort of arms open, peering over the top of the banister, and just announced, "Welcome to Barbie-geddon." And these like massive pink drapes of netting and Barbies hanging from everywhere. It was an experience.
Isn't Femi's favourite colour pink as well?
This is why they're friends.
Those two are like the pink girlies or whatever.
Parade.
Yeah, pink parade, yeah.
But it was lovely to chat to Andy. We talked about early Switchboard years, the 70s into the 80s, the changes within Switchboard as well, because of course, when it started, it was a very different kind of organisation to what it became in the 80s, 90s and so on.
Yeah.
And also it was lovely to hear about his experience of Femi and meeting her and how their friendship developed.
I think when I listened back to the interview that you did with Andy originally when we were working on the book, one of the things that stood out to me was how he talked about the age of consent for like gay men being 21, and that he had a boyfriend. He was under 21, but the boyfriend was older than 21. And so it's like, even though Andy was, I don't know how old he was, like 19 or something like that, he was under that age. And so they had to like have separate bedrooms, even though they shared the same house, just because they were just worried about falling foul of the law, which was an unjust, unequal law, and how that was a different angle on the age of consent topic that we wrote about in the book and we covered on the podcast. But like to hear like that very concrete example of how it affected his living arrangement with his boyfriend, that was really interesting to me. Yeah,
always the impact of these homophobic pieces of legislation on everyday lives, right? Just those tiny stories.
The domestic situation.
Totally. And actually, listeners, that reminds me that, as is often the way with people that we speak to, and when they reflect back on what happened to them in the past, there are stories that cover homophobia in this episode.
But the good thing is Andy is fun and funny as well, so I think I want a night out with him.
I mean, he's an absolute riot.
Let's listen to him now.
So, first of all, Andy, could you just tell me maybe we'll start with when you first heard about Switchboard, and I might go back in time to hear a bit of that 70s context for you too, if okay.
Yeah.
So there was a woman called Mary Whitehouse, and she was prosecuting Gay News for its poem, The Love That Dare Not Speak Its Name. And so that hit national news, and national news meant that Gay News was on the telly, even if only for a week or a day or that moment when I caught it.
Yeah.
So I ventured from Colindale, which is on Northern Line, all the way to Tottenham Court Road, spent half an hour in the tiniest of newsagents, like no more than an arm's width wide, trying to find the courage to buy a copy of Gay News. And within Gay News, there was an article about an organisation called Befriending Group that was a social and stepping stone type of organisation to help gay men, meet other gay men, but also visit the scene together. Mm-hmm. So for younger gay men who were coming out. And you had to phone Switchboard.
Okay. So
I phoned Switchboard, and I hardly said anything, and I got referred to Befriending Group almost immediately, which was really funny because I didn't have the conversation I would have expected to have had if I had been that volunteer.
Right.
But they must have had so many calls. They knew.
When was this?
So this was late 76.
Okay, wow, yeah, really early days.
Yeah, so I phoned Befriending Group and they were like, well, we're not meeting now until the 8th of January, my anniversary, just a week away.
Oh, wow.
And being the sort of person I am, it was like, okay, I'll be there. I had a little car, Sunday afternoon, I could get away from the house. Mm-hmm. My parents wouldn't actually ask too many questions. And so I got in my little Fiat and I came all the way across the North Manor House or somewhere similar. No man's land as far as I was concerned. Mm. And went along to this afternoon gathering of young gay people. And most of the organisers were volunteers from Switchboard.
Okay.
So I met people like David Seligman and Jonathan Walters and Edwin and John Carpenter and various people who were already established volunteers. Mm. So that's how I knew about Switchboard.
Okay.
It's a very strange way of discovering Switchboard and understanding it before you've even...
Yeah, it's
like almost the back door, but not.
Yeah, it's like you getting Gay News, which is like one whole amazing thing. Then calling Switchboard, being sort of signposted right.
Yeah.
And then ending up...
Actually spending time, social time, and being politicized.
Yeah.
Really understanding the gay, what it is to be gay, and to be gay in that period, and so understanding the personal is political. That that women's struggle and the black struggle and everyone's struggle is the same, and all of those things. And so, my being a gay man was a political statement, really.
Yeah.
So the importance of queer and challenging and everything else. So I was 18 going on 19.
So young. I think that's right.
76. Yeah, so I was 18 in 76. So this is January 77. And so I'm at the age where it's clear I have to be absolutely honest about who I am. I'm 18. My life is ahead of me. So I challenged everything. I challenged what it was to be a man. I challenged following the corporate line, going up a career ladder, all of those things which in my view were all far too macho and masculine and oppressive. And so I challenged it all, threw it all up in the air, and it came down. I was just looking back, really lucky, or just a fool. You don't know. I don't know.
It's just
if I hadn't taken that step, I would have grown up in the suburbs and would have thought that the alternative London gay scene was really rough and working class. Because I was brought up in a middle class suburb, even though we were immigrants and blah, blah. It's still, the school I went to was a nice school, and so it was quite funny. And so my first social group was like looking at it and going, if I saw these people on the tube, I wouldn't know that they were gay at all.
Yes. Okay. Could you describe, I mean, you mentioned David Seligman there. Like, I know from photos how he dressed. Why would you not have been able to tell that they were gay?
Well, because, David's in his shirt and tie and his blazer, and other people in jeans and T-shirts, and they just look a bit sort of not quite hippie, but not,
Just so not average.
So if you rewind to either the summer of 76 or maybe the summer of 75, where News of the World does a big expose on gay men in white polo necks trolling around Hampstead. Mm-hmm. And I remember getting the tube to Hampstead and walking around looking for men in white polo shirts.
Oh my God.
Polo necks. Because you do. You should, And I was, of course, no one, my first scene was wearing a white polo neck. And we still giggle about it. And we were looking at I pulled out an old passport, and out of it dropped a photograph of me. It's here because...
Oh, yeah, let's have a look.
So that was me at 4.
Oh, wow.
Right?
Wow.
My parents going back to Cyprus, but this is me very early 80s.
Oh,
in a
amazing.
polo neck.
Oh, my God.
And it's actually a nice cotton polo neck. It's not,
Andy, that's fantastic.
It was...
That's so
and it popped out just
I have to take a picture of that.
on Sunday. And Johnny, my friend who was here, was like, white polo neck. So it was like, enough of that. So I learned about Gay Switchboard, and I learned about the gay scene, and I made friends with other people who are also taking those first steps in coming out. So you would meet somewhere at somebody's place on a Sunday afternoon, and then arrange to go somewhere during the week, in the evening or at the following weekend, which is cool, which meant you saw other people's homes. For me, seeing inside other people's homes and how people lived and these things. Because for me, as I said, I was discovering lots of new, everything was new. And then by the autumn, maybe, I think that's when I joined Switchboard, possibly autumn. So I was maybe one of the youngest ever.
Yeah,
the age of consent was 21.
Right, I was going to ask about that.
My partner, who I met through the group, several months into going to the group, because I met a different partner in early autumn. But anyway, he was 4 years older than me, which meant, although we ended up living in a shared house, we had separate rooms because he worked with young volunteers in his work. And it was like, we have to be really careful. But Switchboard, I was one of the youngest volunteers. And in my head, though, of course, I wasn't a young volunteer. I was, I came out and I knew it all.
Yeah. Do you remember the process of joining Switchboard? Do you remember how that...
You'd have an interview. And
what was that like?
The interview would be a few questions about how might you answer this sort of call? How would you react to this? If someone phoned you and said, is there a pub in Victoria I can go to? Where would you refer them to? It was quite factual.
Yeah.
A lot of the interviews in those days were all about what do you know and how much of the scene do you know? And that's what got you on Switchboard, which of course meant that a lot of women wouldn't get on Switchboard unless they hung out with a lot of gay men.
Right. Okay.
And we were also turning away people who had the perfect phone skills to handle all sorts of situations, but didn't have the information. And bearing in mind, it's an information service and there are files.
Yeah.
And there are people to go and visit, bizarre places with them. Then it's part of that. So I was one of the people that fought, it was me. It was nobody else. I turned around and said, you've got to change the recruitment process. We need a different training group. We need to be able to not lose people, not turn women away, and be aware that if we're training, then we are training and we have to teach people the stuff that they don't know.
Yeah. Because you can't teach the phone skills as much, can you?
No.
Yeah.
And if that person has the personality to actually handle calls, that's 75% of the job.
Yeah.
The information is in a folder.
Yeah.
We can't all remember the buses like David did. Seligman, he was brilliant, you know. School fact number 759 from David. And he was a joy for that, because it would be, come on, David, how many buses? You know, how late will they run?
When were you challenging that? Do you remember? Was it shortly after you arrived, or a bit later?
Late 77 through to June 78, I was on Switchboard. Then I took 4 months off, went and worked in Mykonos in 1978. Disco, woo! And all of that. And I came back, and I think it took me a couple of months, and then I rejoined Switchboard. So I would say maybe during 1979, that change might have started. And then of course we can start recruiting more women, encouraging more women to join. Hence Femi. Femi, come on, Femi. I know that you don't know.
Just going back to that change, I'm interested to hear from you how it was received within the organisation.
Well, it came along with a whole restructuring.
Right. Okay.
So that was part of restructuring group as well.
Right. There was a restructuring group. Okay.
Yeah. We had to. Was there even a training? There may not have been a training group. It might have been just the interview group.
Because when I spoke to John, he said he remembers a management training paper or something that he wrote, a report, and that would have been in 77. So I don't think there was prior to that.
No. So I think it was the interviewing panel.
Yeah.
People who joined the interviewing panel, they would go and interview. And then there was that whole the encouragement to actually be able to break it down, and then actually have people who could choose to join, elect to join different groups, because that's where their skills were.
Yeah.
You know, outside of it. And bearing in mind, we're all volunteers. There aren't any paid workers. You're doing everything, and you're covering. So I would do a night shift a month. And there's a period when I wasn't working, so I might do 2 night shifts a month. I painted the office.
Oh, did you?
On a night shift. The night shift's going on in that room. I'm painting the office in the other room. And then everything gets swapped around the next day, and all the phones get put through the hatches so that they can work in the office while we decorate the dining room. Because, of course, it's 24 hours. You can't go, let's just close for 2 days, shall we?
Yeah. What did the phone room look like back then? What's your memory of it?
If you imagine a whole group of people sitting along your kitchen counter.
Yeah.
That was about it. Room for someone to, so I think we had 4 lines. I think there were 4 phones. So you could sit 4 people fairly comfortably without them being too loud in your ear, except some people were. And there was enough room behind their chairs for someone to walk around behind them, like to maybe doing stuff or updating files and stuff. David was always, running around behind people, grabbing a folder and saying, I'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
Disappear, and you'd hear click, 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 and then a new entry would go into the folder and stuff.
Hello. Our company is called Aunt Nell.
Cute name. Needs a Patreon.
Whether we're making podcasts like this one, or organising events, or facilitating queer community workshops, or training the next generation of storytellers,
Aunt Nell invites people to listen differently.
For tons of bonus content, including exclusive episodes of the logbooks, and to support all our work,
you can join our Patreon now. Go to patreon.com/AuntNell.
Membership tiers start from just a few quid a month. What did a shift feel like? Was it buzzy? Or was it exciting?
It was buzzy, depending on who you're on with.
Yeah, okay.
What your day was like, and what your first call was like. Really, if you have, 4 hoax calls in a row, then you've been wound up, really. And all you hope for then is someone asking obscure questions like, is there a pub in Gillingham? Or, is there a group in Medway? Or something surreal that you can actually get go and look in a file and be, oh, look, yes, we have, here's a number or whatever. So, but a lot of the time, though, you'd often you often did regular shifts. I used to do a regular Thursday evening, which meant other people would end up doing regulars with you. So you'd be a little gang, you know. So that was always good because you knew if it was a shit shift in terms of the calls you've been dealing with, they were really difficult or draining. You had people that you could who could support you, or you could say, "I need 10 minutes," and they could handle it because because we're human.
Yeah.
And because we've all been through what people throw at you, you're likely to have been through, unless you were really fortunate in the way you were brought up and the place where you grew up, and you had all the good stuff. But most people have had some sort of. Most of the volunteers would have. Well, every gay person can relate to coming out, all the insecurities, all the. I was Greek Cypriot. There were gay Greek Cypriots. They didn't exist, according to my mum, because of course my parents came over in the 50s. So my mother still carries 1950s mentality.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Britain.
Yeah.
From Cyprus, which of course was a British colony. And as far as she was concerned, gay men were the men who sat in the park and knitted.
Oh, right.
Right? Forget the whole what they might be doing in private.
Right.
As far as she was concerned, they were just effeminate men who would sit around and knit and be garish and outlandish.
Right.
No,
Wow.
no 1970s update.
Yeah, gay
She
liberation.
didn't really get updated until 1980s. March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, 1977. I came home from work and she's there and she's like, "Come with me." And we go up to their master bedroom and the door gets locked because it's the only door that does get locked. There's not a bathroom or a toilet.
Okay.
And she'd been reading a journal that I'd been writing. So she wanted to know what all this was about. So that was my coming out to my mother.
Wow.
And I was like, "Okay." And she's like, "Right, don't say anything to your father. Let's go downstairs. We've got to eat." I was from a family of 6. But at that point, there were only 3 of us still living at home. But so that was pretty bizarre, really. And then the next day, I come home from work and my father's in the kitchen with my mum, and my older brother, one of my older brothers, who's the black sheep of the family, is also being called in. And we're sent out so that he can find me a woman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we laughed. He dropped me off at a befriending group because they hi gays. And his comment was, "If Mum asks, nothing happened," which was true.
Yeah. God, did you ever pick that conversation back up again with your mum or your parents?
No, because I got home on a Saturday evening because I worked on Saturday. I stayed out all night. And she's making kebabs at the stove, as you do. And I'm sitting at the kitchen table and she's like, "Well," and I went, "Nothing happened." She just carried on.
That was it.
That was it. But then a few months later, she's met my lover and my boyfriend, and we're not living together at this point.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting, actually, because he had the nerve to challenge her. And my mother was like,
wow,
loud, and, big, and nobody crossed. And often, if my friends came from school and they're sitting in the corner in the kitchen, their backs would be sliding up the wall because they think something's really wrong. And of course, it's not. It's just the way that we speak at 400 decibels, and it means nothing.
Yeah.
It's when we get to 1,000 decibels, something's wrong.
Yeah.
And he stood his ground. I was ill. I just turned up, and he squared up to her and went, "I love him. He's my partner, and I will always look after him."
Oh,
She's been very emotional recently, which was superb, really. And she stepped back and appreciated him and whatever. And 6 months later, my younger brother and sister run away from home.
right.
She calls me and Chris, my partner, and we go round and we're making up a bed in the living room
Just one.
with her
Right.
for us.
Yeah.
Because she knows that I'm the only one, or we are the only people that can handle what's going on, you know. And that was, it's like, okay, Mum, welcome to the 1980s.
Wow.
1980s. It's a bit of a shake-up for her.
Yeah. Is your mum still here today?
She's not with us anymore.
Did she continue in that support?
Oh, yeah. She tore the strips off relatives who tried to badmouth me.
Okay, great.
You know, I was one of her favourite children and one of the few good ones. 6, remember?
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing that, Andy. It's quite a vivid picture as well. I love the decibel description. So good. Okay, so I was wondering, and I know it was a long time ago that you did your first Switchboard shift or first couple of shifts, but do you remember, could you take me back to that moment and how it felt?
I was probably nervous, but also actually probably quite excited. I using a telephone, using a typewriter, all toys. And then when computers came along, they're toy in my head. They're all toys. They're about having fun with them, even if you're shouting at your screen or whatever. But so it was exciting, and I mean, I'd had enough of a run through and training and practice and stuff, and it was a case of just answer the calls, and there's someone with you anyway.
Yeah.
Listening to how you're doing.
That's not changed.
No, quite right.
Yeah.
Really. And that was really satisfying, I think. And it could have just been a whole series of calls for entertainment rather than anything else, because sometimes, Friday afternoons and evenings is all about where can I go tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
But it was cool. And of course you have to do X number of shifts and then you get ratified.
Yeah.
Now, as we did.
It's still called that. Yeah.
You need to find the minutes for the...
Yeah, the legacy prevails.
Minutes for the quarterly meetings.
Yeah.
Switchboards, because you'll see them when things change. Because one of the meetings would have said, we're setting up a restructuring group.
Yeah.
And then a meeting 3 months or 6 months later would say, we're taking on this new constitution. It's amazing, really. That could put it together.
Yeah.
And we pulled it together.
Yeah. As volunteers as well, right?
Yeah.
As well.
So it's all your own time.
Yeah.
But it was necessary, really. If it's not working properly, then fix it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And if you're excluding, it's be inclusive.
Yeah. Just on that point, and this is something that, we sort of touched on before I pressed record, but in the logbooks, one of the things that really stands out, and, your name is one I recognised, Femi, as well, in her pink pen. Both of you were really, really vocal in the logbooks around what you're touching on here, which is about pushing for change, not just saying, well, actually, acknowledging it, number one, the needs or the lack of, whatever it was. And within the logbooks, it's really apparent to me that that everything that's happening outside of Switchboard in society at that point in time is being mirrored within the organisation. So sexism, racism, and how did that feel? And I'm interested if you remember, how did it feel to be the ones to call it out? Being
they're worse than the women was one of my favourite quotes.
Oh God!
Referring to myself and a couple of other gay men on Switchboard, because we were there saying, no, you can't do that. No, you're not getting the point. You can't say that. You have to say this. And it's before the early mid 80s PC development.
Yeah.
So because of course, as I said, I came from left wing, slightly anarchist, gay, queer people.
Yeah.
So the politics were always strong, and there were still people on Switchboard who had those politics. Yeah. But then we also had a lot of very nice middle-class men who were nice middle-class men and didn't have any understanding of what it's like to not have anything and struggle and be oppressed in so many other ways, not just your sexuality. Not that one is worse than the other or whatever, but if you start compounding them, this one and this one and this, I'm dealing with this, but I'm also having to deal with this, and I'm dealing with this, and you forget, that culturally I'm different from you, and you don't. And my face starts appearing on all sorts of publications and pamphlets and people's annual reports.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah,
on Switchboard, on a book about law, Gaze on the Law, 1982, I think, in some on GLC publication pamphlet about equality, because I was sitting on a committee somewhere else, and I was working in the voluntary sector, and so my face is appearing in housing and homelessness areas,
right,
and it's like, okay, come on, there are also other people from ethnic groups,
and that's actually a parallel between you and Femi a bit, isn't it? Because both of you, for want of a better word, were sort of
poster people.
Well, wheeled out for it. Yeah, exactly. And like, I spoke to Femi about it, and she was like, well, I asked her how it felt to be the only black person at points, and she said, well, I grew up being the only black person.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really interesting way to answer it.
Well, because you know how to deal with it, really. You know how to survive, and you know what tricks you can play to make them eat out of your hat. She's very good at that. I see. We both are, because there is a certain charm and there is a humour that comes with slap, really.
Power of persuasion, though, isn't it? And trying to get things changed.
And change of habits, really. So it's like, well, put it in the rules. But they're not used to doing it. Well, they'll learn.
Yeah. Andy is so lovely. Another person that we didn't meet in time to record for the podcast. But here we are now listening back to his stories, and I'm so pleased I got to meet Andy. And I feel that way about all of our interviewees and our contributors. I'm always left thinking, if we weren't doing this work, would we be having these conversations?
No, you don't get to meet people that much unless you force yourself to do it. And, we were doing the work anyway. We want to do this work anyway. But that's just something that we discovered in doing the podcast originally, was we're not just doing the work, but we're actually meeting all these people, amazing people that we wouldn't have otherwise been able to meet. So we kind of accidentally tripped into this era in our life of meeting all these people and making new friends.
And it makes me think about how Femi and Andy met sort of accidentally and how we sort of met accidentally. And will we be in 40 years time talking about, on whatever podcasts become,
I don't know,
how
that's
our friendship started.
I don't know.
It's amazing to think about those friendships that last a lifetime, though, isn't it?
It is. And I just hope that we can carry on that friendship, because that would be really lovely.
Fingers crossed, honey. But in the meantime, you can buy our book wherever you get your books.
The Logbooks is an Aunt Nell production in partnership with Faber Books.
It is hosted and produced by Tash Walker and Adam Zmith.
The voice of the Logbooks is Serena James.
The assistant producer is Marnie Woodmeade.
Engineered by David Pye.
Music by Tom Foskett-Barnes.
Original artwork by Natalie Doto.
Thanks to Steph Dickers and team at the Bishopsgate Institute.
Our publisher, Faber Books.
The Dreamboats at Acast.
The staff and volunteers at Switchboard, and all the contributors who shared their stories.
Switchboard continues to take phone calls from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day. If you're affected by any of the issues in this podcast, or need to discuss anything to do with your gender identity or sexuality, you can call Switchboard on 0800 0119 100. Email hello@switchboard.lgbt or instant message via switchboard.lgbt, where you can also donate money or time to help.